cut a deal to save this firm.
He cut a deal to keep us from going to prison. We give Evan people who already want to go, and I give Anita Gibbs murderers in exchange for Mike.
And what if it doesn't work and we lose everything?
Then we do, but if we don't try to save him, who are we?
What happens when the past collides with the present in the confining walls of a prison? Mike Ross is about to find out, as his new cellmate in Danbury isn't just any inmate. When Mike Ross stepped into the Federal Correctional Institute in Danbury to start his 2-year sentence, he had no clue what was waiting for him. Right off the bat, he met Frank Gallo. Now, Frank seemed like a typical cellmate, trying to make light of the gloomy cell situation by joking about their little condo and even teasing Mike about stealing a picture of his nephew, all in good humor, or so Mike thought. Frank was all about breaking the ice, asking Mike why he ended up in prison. Mike flipped the question back at Frank, who just chuckled and brushed it off, claiming his story was too long for just one sitting. But with both of them in for a long ride, Mike pointed out they had nothing but time. As the evening wore on, the chat took a deeper dive. Frank shared a philosophical insight about how criminals often start out thinking they're helping others before getting so caught up in their own desires that they lose track of what they started in the first place. It was like he was holding up a mirror to Mike's own past. Mike couldn't help but share his own tale then about stepping over the line to financially support his sick grandmother. But here's the kicker. When Frank asked why Mike hadn't taken a deal to snitch on a colleague to reduce his sentence, Mike admitted that betrayal just wasn't in his cards. He couldn't backstab someone who had been nothing but good to him. Things got even more personal as Mike confessed to leaving his fiancée Rachel at the altar, dumping the love of your life because you're afraid she'll regret being tied down to a jailbird. Mike was struggling with keeping any relationship alive from behind bars, and he turned to Frank for some advice. Frank's tips were straightforward but grim. Trust each other, keep those visits coming, and steer clear of touchy topics. In a surprising twist of trust, or perhaps desperation, Mike asked Frank if he could use his cell phone to send Rachel a message just to reassure her. Frank agreed, handing over his phone without a fuss. But the night was far from over. Suddenly, a guard stormed in, demanding they get ready for a cell switch. Mike was puzzled, insisting he was right where he was supposed to be. And that's when Frank dropped a bombshell. He hadn't been assigned to be Mike's cellmate at all. He had bribed a guard to switch places with the real one for the night. But why would Frank do that? Well, it turns out his friendly act was all part of a bigger plan. He confessed to holding a grudge against Harvey Specter, the man behind his own long sentence. Frank had read about Mike's connection to Harvey in the papers and saw a golden opportunity for revenge right from inside the prison. Now, Frank had more than just Mike's attention, he had leverage. Knowing intimate details about Mike and having Rachel's contact info meant he could stir up serious trouble. Mike was left stunned, realizing just how dangerous Frank could be, not just to him, but also to his loved ones outside the prison walls. In a rough start to the day in the prison cafeteria, Mike couldn't keep his cool when Frank started boasting about his Photoshop skills. Frank had digitally altered photos of Rachel, Mike's fiancée, and was planning to share them all over the prison to embarrass Mike. That's crossing a line. Well, Mike thought so too, and ended up throwing punches at Frank, which landed him in hot water. His punishment? No visitors for 2 weeks. Talk about a bad day getting worse. But on the other side, Donna had just managed to speed up Rachel's approval to visit Mike in prison. However, when Rachel showed up, eager and worried, the officer at the gate stopped her. Why? Because she wasn't Harvey Specter, who she claimed to be to get past security. Despite her pleas and threats to make the officer regret it if anything happened to Mike on her watch, she didn't budge. Meanwhile, back at the office, Rachel filled Harvey in on the whole messy situation. Harvey knew he had to step in. He asked Donna to clear his afternoon schedule and called his driver Ray to get the car ready. While he kept his calm in front of Rachel, Harvey confided in Donna that the revoked visitation rights were a red flag, suggesting Mike had been set up to react. During Harvey's visit to see Mike at the prison, Mike revealed a troubling twist. The animosity he was facing wasn't random. It was a direct consequence of Harvey's past actions as an assistant DA. Frank Gallo, the source of Mike's current nightmare, had a history with Harvey, which was news to Harvey himself. Harvey had previously put Gallo away for racketeering, a serious crime that usually doesn't end with a transfer to a facility like Danbury, which was known for its relatively lighter handling of inmates. This suggested that Gallo was there because of good behavior, something Harvey found ironically troubling. Mike quickly pointed out that Harvey's optimism about good behavior could be misplaced, as bad behavior could easily swing back the other way. Harvey was ready to spring into action. He wanted to march straight to the warden to get Gallo transferred out of Danbury, convinced that exposing the full backstory would solve the problem. But Mike stopped him. He explained the delicate balance of power within the prison walls, emphasizing that the guards were corrupt and any move Harvey made could backfire, putting Mike in even greater danger. Despite Harvey's insistence that they could get Gallo transferred within a week, Mike held firm. He revealed that Gallo had obtained Rachel's phone number. Frustrated, Mike reminded Harvey of his own request before coming to prison to let him handle his battles inside to prove he could stand his ground. Mike was determined to navigate prison life on his terms, even if it meant keeping Harvey at bay. As Harvey left the facility, he encountered Gallo taunting him from the exercise yard. The sight of Gallo, so smug and untouchable behind the prison fence, ignited Harvey's fury. In a moment of raw confrontation, Harvey managed to twist Gallo's finger through the fence, a possible feat given the type of fencing sometimes found in less secure areas of prison, though not typical. He issued a chilling ultimatum to Gallo: leave Mike alone or face dire consequences. Harvey's threat was deadly serious. He even went as far as to promise that he would take matters into his own hands if Gallo made one wrong move against Mike. Gallo, unfazed and with a twisted sense of satisfaction, mocked Harvey's protective stance, implying that the psychological torment of not knowing when the next bad news might come was his real weapon against them. As Harvey walked away, Gallo's eerie parting taunt mimicked a ringing phone. Back at the office, Harvey attempted to calm Rachel by telling her that the situation at Danbury was under control. However, Rachel was quick to pick up on Harvey's diversion, pressed him on whether Mike was in danger. When Harvey hesitated, he made it clear that his promises were secondary to Mike's safety, insisting that he take action to protect Mike. She sternly warned Harvey that if anything happened to Mike because of this inaction, she would never forgive him. As Rachel stormed off, Donna came in, reflecting on Rachel's concerns and reminding Harvey that even if Rachel could eventually forgive him, he might never forgive himself if something happened to Mike. Harvey, feeling the weight of responsibility, met with Sean Gallo, a federal prosecutor, to discuss the situation. He explained that Mike was imprisoned with Frank Gallo, a dangerous criminal he had previously put away. Sean expressed his limitations, stating he didn't have the authority to simply transfer an inmate. However, Harvey, driven by desperation and leveraging their past, reminded Sean of the debts he owed him. Harvey recounted how Mike had once helped Sean take down significant criminal figures, which propelled Sean's career forward. Despite Sean's initial reluctance, he agreed to see what he could do to help, reminding Harvey that this would increase his debt to him. Later, Harvey visited Mike in prison to discuss more about Gallo. He revealed to Mike that while he had put Gallo away for racketeering, the real accusation was far more severe, involving conspiracy to commit murder. Unfortunately, due to a mishap with evidence handling, they had to settle for the lesser charge. This revelation explained Gallo's intense hatred for Harvey and why Mike was now caught in a dangerous vendetta. Harvey suggested that Mike keep a low profile to avoid provoking Gallo any further, but Mike expressed the impossibility of hiding in prison. Harvey then advised him to do the exact opposite, stay visible and maintain a strong presence. So what are your thoughts on Mike's tough situation? How should he navigate these tricky waters? Do drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intense updates like these.